And Pakistan somehow managed to lose to India and are effectively out of the World Cup. Welcome to the shiny side. I'm your host, Faris. And I have with me from Houston, perhaps as shell-shocked as I am, Omer Basir. Omar, I think we all went into this game saying India were favorites, but given the first 35 overs we saw, it's quite a shock how this ended. How do you see it?
Hey, Faris, yeah, your statement was we somehow, and to anybody who wouldn't have seen the game, they would be like, "What are you talking about?" But this Pakistani team gave us hope. They came out and made a bang, and I think everybody thought this game was over after the first innings.
Yeah, yeah.
Yet we've managed to make is this another low after last? And it's hard to say that statement after last week's or earlier this week's loss, but yeah, here we are.
So look, I could do a 30-second summary, right? But effectively what happened was we won the toss and put India in. And somehow India went from 89 for 3 in 11 overs to 97 for 7 in 16. We kept them to 120. And again, there was a point where we needed 46 or 42 with 7 wickets in hand. And we lost the game from there. That was 19 seconds, but that's all I'm going to say about the summary, right? Because that's effectively what happened. I'm still scratching my head to understand what happened here. Clearly, if you look at our batting, right? I mean, firstly, before we get into it, in terms of the conditions, clearly there's a pattern here where both teams seem to do all right with the bat in the first 10 to 12 overs, then suddenly there was a drop-off. Do you think there was something in the conditions, or was it more just the pressure of the game?
I felt like the Indian team was under a lot of pressure. It was like I didn't see that positivity from them. They were getting a bit too aggressive, playing shots that didn't make any sense. The pitch was, I think, was too paced.
Punt was playing very differently from everybody else, by the way. Yeah.
But a lot of his runs, and even Akshar Patel, when he scored that 20, they were all off, nicks
Streaks,
going
very streaky. A lot of luck was on their side, I have to say.
I don't think India was ever in control. And the pitch was, it was a bit slower pitch, maybe too paced, you could say, but there were no demons in the pitch, there were no demons. I think India screwed up big time, and they would have been thinking how we ended up with a low score. Kudos to Pakistan's bowling. I think Babar's captaincy, in general, I'm not a fan, but the way he changed his bowlers and brought them at the right time was something really, really good and a good fresh change. Yeah. So going back to your question, the pitch, I think it was too paced. I think it was a good track where you could see some balance between bat and ball, but I don't think.
I mean, to be fair, we were on Pakistan on the wrong side, but we've probably seen quite a nail biter, I have to say, right? Because the game swung one way or the other. But if we focus on our Pakistan's batting initially, right? So I mean, Babar Rizwan got off to somewhat of a start. Rizwan didn't fully look like he was in. Having said that, it seemed like he was doing enough to kind of keep us in the game, given the run rate we needed, etc., until he played that hoik of a shot, which did not make any sense to me. Because, again, I get it, you have to pick your chances, right? But picking on the best bowler when he's clearly come on to do something, and then he's bowling from wide of the off stump, you're trying to go for mid-wicket, so you're creating the hardest possible angle against the best possible bowler. Am I picking on straws, or was that like a massive misjudgment on his part?
That was the biggest turning point of this game. Yes, we were thinking about was how many overs Bumrah has and how do we get 4 to 6 off his overs and score the rest. I think we needed just over run a ball then, so you didn't really need to do that. And again, you pick the first ball from the very best bowler who is always on the stumps, and you go for this totally across the line hoik. Yes, so I totally agree. Usually, I like the intent these boys show, but this was, I think, a bad miscalculation. Yeah. That would be the biggest turning point, and I think I think which is flabbergasting.
I mean, Usman Khan also. I mean, I don't want to put too much on him because he's obviously new. Having said that, the PCB's pulled him out of the PSL and the UAE as if he's a Superman, right? And he was in a 33. I mean, he scored what? He scored 13 of something like 19 balls, something like that. He was in a 31-run partnership with Rizwan, which looked 33 balls. So Rizwan was the aggressor there, if anything. But Usman Khan just didn't look like he belongs in international cricket today. Like, he just seemed... And so that's how he's looked so far, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think he's screaming out to be some amazing batsman, but when you look at a 15, he deserves to be in the 11 because I don't see who else would take his... at least he wasn't looking at ways to get out, right? He stood around, he hung out, he scored some runs. Rizwan's been out of form too. And again, he hung out, which is what we want when he's scoring a 120. We just had to keep the scoreboard ticking. I think we lost it up here. You guys talked about it previously as well, about the mindset, right? I mean, all you had to do was stick around, run a ball, get the occasional boundary, and you'd won it. I mean, that was it.
And I mean, Fakhr played like he plays 13 off 8. I think he's actually the one when I initially thought when he got out, he just did enough to kind of kill any nerves we had. Because when he got out, we needed just another 47 or 46, right? Which you would think would be easy and doable. But again, he got a bit unlucky because the shot he played, it took his bat, hit a bender's shoulder and went up. But I think India also, yeah, go on.
So games like these, the onus is on the bowling team. They feel the pressure. They have to try things and tweak things. And all you do as a batting team is milk the ones and the twos, score the occasional boundary, take it deep, and you're winning it. There's no way you're not winning it, right?
Yeah.
And we somehow managed to put the pressure on ourselves. And that's, again, where it's all the mindset.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, I mean, it's a lot, right? But I think you have to talk about how well Bumrah obviously bowled, but I think even Hardik and how well he used the short ball. I think he got two of our guys. He got both Fakhr and he got Shadab with the short ball. I think those were both catches taken by punt, which were, I think, good bowling by him. But I think if you look at Imad as well, right? Like Imad, I feel like, he ended up playing 20 plus balls at a strike rate of like 60. I mean, he clearly really sucked the life out of the innings. It also makes me think, did we make the wrong call by sending him ahead of Shadab and sending him ahead of Ifti? I mean, I'm not sure if they would have changed much, but it really, Imad's not really. And I think that Akshar over where he managed to kind of try to cut 4 balls or 5 balls and missed all of them, it really changed the game.
No, I mean, to me, that was a wrong call. The way I justified it was Fakhr got out, they needed a left-hander there, and that's why they sent him. That's what only logic I see. But the guy's hasn't played a game in a bit. Shadab's been coming in good form. Shadab, this is made for Shadab Khan. Single doubles, occasional boundary, he gets it, right? This is made for him. So I did not like that decision. And to me, Imad, he hits those. He has certain areas where he hits, which are non-orthodox and takes teams by surprise. But in this case, coming in so early, you could see the boundary the Indian team had set. They knew exactly where he bats, and they were bowling to him, and he couldn't do anything about it. So I thought we made a mistake there for sure. And then, he tried. So I don't think he wasn't trying. He tried. He just couldn't come
Of course, but like I think if you can't kind of connect after 25 balls, there's a problem. Like there's a massive problem, right?
Absolutely.
Like you've come out of retirement to supposedly take us to glory, and this is not how he wants to go down. And again, Shadab, right? Like Shadab, if he has any value with the bat, it's in the middle of the innings when spin is on. By the time he came on to bat, there was no spin left. So it's not like he managed to do much in that.
That was probably the only, I think, from a strategic point of view, the blunder that we made, I think, was that big one. From if you want to call it Babar's captaincy. Otherwise, from a bowling front, I think he did well with. And obviously it was epic failure of, like I said, total like this, the bowling team's under pressure. You don't have to do much as a batting team.
And Ifti again, right? Like, I mean, I think now we've got to the point where there's been a track record of a high number of matches where he hasn't managed to turn it on for Pakistan. So, I mean, I'm not sure how long he's going to be around for, but clearly,
I think what's made it worse is when you're batting against an Arshdeep Singh, the guy's bowling 130 kilometers per hour, you're getting some full tosses, and you can't dispatch them for a boundary. Then what are you going to hit for a boundary, right? I mean, are you just looking for a half volley? Is that all you need? All you can do? Then what's special about
I mean, this is the kind of track where I feel like someone like, I mean, hindsight's obviously always great, but I think, I mean, I was even saying this before the game. If he had a Saim at the top, right? Because power play runs here would be crucial. I won't even say Azam Khan because of his issue, but also I think it was, for whatever reason, clearly hard to bat as the inning went on. But the power play was where teams were getting the run. So I feel like having someone like a Saim at the top, a couple of more boundaries in the beginning, etc., or who knows how long it could have lasted, would have really, I guess, made the difference in a very low scoring game. Because a 22 of 10 in this kind of pitch kind of completely sets you up for
Absolutely.
Game.
Or even, now maybe we're at that stage where we need to think of him even getting inserted into the middle order, right? Between Usman and Ifti, there's 2 candidates there. But this was, again, if Babar, he was the one who looked in sublime touch. I mean, that straight drive he hit for 4, I mean, looked beautiful, right? And he got out to a good ball. So, no complaints there. But this was one of those tracks where he needed Babar.
Babar, I think we saw the replay a number of times. I mean, I can't fault him for that. The ball kind of almost read off. It also moved it a bit. So there was line, it moved, it went a bit higher. So it was, again, he tried to keep it down, but he wasn't able to. I guess moving on to the first innings, it was a bit odd where obviously they were 89 for three. Punt was going for everything, playing the way he plays, I guess. A lot of his stuff was coming off. He didn't look convincing at all. There were lots of edges flying around. But
Yeah,
I just, at that point, I was thinking perhaps it is India's day. And
yeah,
then I guess Naseem Shah, if we have to talk about a positive from Pakistan in the World Cup, it's been Naseem Shah. Coming into it, he seemed like our weakest link in the bowling lineup, but he's been our best bowler in both the games so far by far. And again, he was
yeah.
incredible. He got 3 wickets, important wickets as well. And there was in that 5 over spell where we only gave 11 and took 4 wickets. He bowled 2 of them. So I think again he was on either side of that. So I thought Naseem is looking incredible and somehow is back to his best.
No, the bowling's coming together, and Naseem, that boy, I mean, he's a big game, right,
Yeah.
player, and he did that. He bowling really well with control. Babar brought him on at the right times, and I think even besides Amir's wides in that super over, he's had maybe a couple of good games,
Yeah.
right? Even today, Amir brought control. He was
Yeah.
moving the ball both ways.
Yeah.
He made the ball talk. He was using all that experience he has. So I think the bowling we did well. I would fault India on. I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, they could have taken it again deeper and played a little bit more sensibly, which they need to do if they want to win this World Cup on these type of
Because
pitches, which aren't
some
going
of
to
the
change that
shots
much.
we saw, right? Like I think Aksar coming down the track to Naseem made no sense at all. Like I think the way
Yeah,
which he was bowled on. So I think India was again. I didn't understand their game plan. I thought they had a particularly poor game with the bat, and a lot of the runs that
and
even came off Punt's bat were just, I guess, him going for
and
a
like
little bit of luck.
it was bizarre. You've got the world's #1 T20 batsman sitting in your shed, and you send Akshar Patel in, right? Is that lack of confidence? Are you
And
already
and,
showing
and
you're
you
worried?
can't even use the left-hand excuse because Punt was already there.
Right. No, exactly. That made no sense to me. That showed me they're not confident in what they're doing. And then Shivam Dubey, I think short balls or fast bowling isn't his forte, and the opposition has 4 fast bowlers, and
Yeah.
both his selection and him coming in before Pandya and stuff to me also was a I don't know, interesting
Yeah.
decision.
I mean, I guess it comes down to again. I mean, in terms of where does so for instance, as far as India is concerned, so they've effectively now qualified. They've won 2 games. They play USA and they play Canada, and they have to win one of them, and they'll go through. It doesn't matter whether they top or not, the way the group is set up. So they're looking good. I thought it's a their lineup is a bit defensive. They're trying to keep the batting lineup a bit long, and they don't have Kuldeep or Chahal in there. So I feel like at some point they need to figure out a way of getting those guys in. I'm guessing once we go to the West Indies or they go to the West Indies, they'll probably have Kuldeep come in and they'll make Siraj or Arshdeep sit out. What do you think of that mix?
Yeah, I think so as well. I think Arshdeep was pretty, he came out, I think, with figures that didn't look too bad, but I think it was pretty ineffective. And if they come across an Indian batting lineup or an Australian batting lineup, I feel he's one of the bowlers who's going to go for a lot.
Yeah.
Unless the ball moves sideways a lot. So I think, yeah, Kuldeep is a match winner. I mean, they need to find a way to bring him in. Absolutely. And I think today the batting is way longer than it needs to be. I mean, today it helped them out a little bit, but
And speaking of Naseem, by the way, Naseem seemed to be the only guy in the last 6 overs with the bat, and I'm coming back to our batting again, who seemed to be trying to do something, right? And clearly it made me think, had he come in a couple of overs earlier, who knows what could have happened, right? Because he was the only guy who tried to do something, really.
We've been calling that out for the last few games, right? Like he needs to bat above Shaheen Shah Afridi. Shaheen Shah Afridi has this one shot that comes off against medium pacers over mid wicket, and somehow everyone around him is convinced that he is our number 7 or whatever, right? And Naseem Shah has won us matches, hit different types of runs, plays all around, has the confidence, has the skill, and he's coming behind.
And also, by the way, so you weren't on the show, but when we did the show after the Dallas game, which you were in the stadium for, one of the little things we discussed was why was Haris Rauf sent before Naseem? He played 7 balls for 5. Had Naseem come in, we had one more run somehow, would have been a very different game.
Yeah. In fact, sadly as it sounds, where we stand now, maybe he needs to make up a super over top 3. Naseem makes our top 3 for the super over or top 4. He's a big hitter. We're not seeing too many of those guys. So yeah.
So I guess I mean, look, I think it's just a sad state of affairs as far as Pakistan is concerned right now. I think the fans' worst fears are coming true, unfortunately. Everybody went into this game not expecting a lot, but given the kind of start we had, we thought we had this one in the bag, but clearly it didn't happen. A lot to work on, I think, from the ad hocism that's happening at the board level, where in terms of, how we are bringing back a player who's gone off to UAE just because he did well in the PSL once, without really trusting whatever process we've had, bringing out guys back out of retirement. And again, I know Amr did well. I know Imad didn't do well, but the fact of the matter is you still need to kind of show some consistency and process, and that's how you kind of build institutions and build teams.
Absolutely.
Australia being an example who didn't pick Jake Fraser-McGurk, even though he's been killing it in the IPL, right? So again, I think from macro level board issues, which we'll probably do another show on at some point, what's going on, happening wrong there too. I mean,
Yeah.
poor selection in terms of less about who we left out, but more about the balance of the squad is off here, right? Where we have one quick too many, no backup middle order batsmen. So now that Azam and Saim are sitting out, if you want to make a change, we don't know who to come in, who to bring in right now. So too many things to
No,
pick on.
I think there's those fundamental things, but I think, like we've been talking about, that mental toughness or that positive attitude. How does that come? That comes about when you have processes in place and you follow that process, and everyone understands what do I need to do to deliver and be successful. When you keep chopping, changing from the board level to, like you said, making ad hoc changes, nobody has confidence in their own ability nor in the system. And that is not what you want somebody sitting on the ground in a high pressure situation to be thinking about, right? It needs to be very clear on what they need to do. So it all adds up, and that's what it shows in these big games. And
when Morgan started playing the New England way, and I think they were bowled out for like 130 against South Africa or something, and he came to the ceremony and said, "No, but this is how we play. Even if it doesn't come once in a while, this is how we play." But he had the buy-in all the way from the board to the bottom, and they kind of went through it. Obviously, in Pakistan, there's too much flux. We've had 3 chairmen, 2 captains, or 3 captains if you think about same guy again, multiple coaches, etc. So we obviously do our best. We've done our best in the last 18 months to kind of, I guess, make things as messed up as possible. And clearly it's having an effect on the side now, because if you look at the side, if you look at the board, and if you look at also the team we had from 2016 till about a couple of years ago, things were quite stable. And I think we're moving in the right direction after a very long time. And even though at the board level, for all of the criticism they get from me and everybody else, I think they were getting a lot of the big things right. But it's been a shambles since, I guess, Sethi took over, and everybody else is just creating their own template of how to mess things up. But in terms of where this leaves Pakistan in the tournament, so I mean, it doesn't look like we obviously have 2 games left. There is still a possibility, the Kudrat Ka Nizam possibility of us qualifying if we win our 2 games. But for that, Ireland has to beat the USA. And which again, I mean, it can happen, but it's unlikely. But like I said, it's not a very likely scenario. But for fans who would like to know, maybe not today, but by tomorrow, they'll start thinking again, is there a way for Pakistan? The only way we qualify is if, again, Ireland beats the USA and we win our next 2 games. That will have us level on points with the USA, and then the run rate will come in. I guess the only thing going in our favor right now is that the 2 losses we've had have been super, super low margin. So our NRR is probably almost at 0. So I think if we were to win 2 games and Ireland was USA, we could end up on the right side of that. So, but again, clutching on straws here.
Yeah, I mean, when you're losing on these, like you said, they're close margins, meaning you're losing out on those high pressure moments, and that you can't go far in a major tournament like this with that type of mentality, right? So that's there. I think in summary, the Indian team, I don't think, honestly, I'd be disappointed as an Indian fan with their performance. Maybe it was a high pressure game, get it out of their system. They can probably start playing better cricket, but I think lots of homework for the Indian team to do as well, despite the win. And for Pakistan, I think you've already summed it up. I mean, they really need to pull up their socks and, hope for Kudrat Ka Nizam, and maybe they'll make it.
I think for India, by the way, I also feel like I'm not sure how I feel about the whole Rohit Kohli opening thing. Also, because I feel like if you get them both early on, then they're kind of severely under pressure. Right. So I think that's also a factor for India. But
for sure. I think, when you get to the Caribbean, orthodox batsmanship will become important because, you need to get to 160, 170. And it's not that easy to just sit and hit. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I think the beauty of this World Cup is the variety and the diversity and the pitches and the conditions.
So anyway, those of you watching, if you have a view on what went wrong for Pakistan, please leave a comment. And if you also have a view on what do you think India how did India manage to win for that matter, please feel free to share. And Umar, thank you for being on.
Thanks, Faris.
And we'll be back in a couple of days, I imagine, with some more cricket. In the meantime, stay tuned to the shiny side.